Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a back to school tips and organisation tips. So if you want to learn how to get some awesome organisation tips and be above all your schoolwork and be in your A zone, you can continue watching and let's get on with the video.
Homework and studying I need to do and assignments that will need to be due. So due to that, I'm sorry, but I'm only going to be posting once a week, which it will be, I'll be posting midday on a Sunday because I'll be filming on the Saturday, so then that way I can edit it Saturday night and Sunday morning and be able to post it for you guys to watch. And I'm sorry, I know it's sad for me to say, but I don't want to give myself pressure and I don't want to be too stressed about making videos and schoolwork at the same time. So I need to focus a little bit more on schoolwork. So because of that, that's why I'm posting once a week.
Some things are long forgotten. Some things.
Alright, my first tip for you guys is to use a diary or a planner, whatever you prefer. So my school gives us a diary and it has, here it is here, and it has our weeks, our day, and then at the front of it, it has our timetable for our classes. So it's week A and week B and has all our classes and the class that we're in for that day. And then it has it when you go onto your homework spreadsheet, and it has all the timetable as well, like what time the bells ring, and then it also has what date it is of the homework that you get due for that subject. So if I get maths homework, it says I have maths homework, then it's due tomorrow, and I can tick it off if I've done it or not.
Some things are long forgotten. Some things were never said. We were on one.
The next one is to get enough sleep as you can. Sleep is probably the best medicine for you. Getting enough sleep is just so good for your body. If you don't get enough sleep, you'll be drained out and you'll be very, very tired for the next day. So if you get up early, if you're in high school, I recommend getting enough sleep, and in the morning, if you can, I know sometimes it's a bit hard, but try your best to make your bed, because when you make your bed, you've got a clear mind and your room is clean, so then that way when it's time to studying, you have a clear room and a clear mind space, so you're good to study.
Long forgotten. Some things were never.
When it comes to study time and assessments are around the corner, my tip for studying is to use revision cards. So here they are here. They're just like palm cards as if you would use in a speech, and write down tips or dot points, whatever you prefer, mind maps, however you like to do it, and just write down the study notes of the subject that you are studying for. So for example, if I have maths, I have my equation, how to work it out, and the answer. And what I like to do is I like to use it as a flashcard. So if I have it and I'm going to test myself, for example, what's 7 times 2? I'll look at it, keep looking at it, and then I'll know 14, that's the answer. And what you can also do is get your parents, your sister, your friend, whoever you want to test you on it, and that's a really good one. That's what I use.
Got it. Something.
The next one is to write down all your exams and your assignments that are coming up next in your diary, in your planner, or you can write it on your whiteboard if you have one. And if you do have a whiteboard or a corkboard, you can just stick a note on there saying my maths test is on next Tuesday, or I have a science test tomorrow, I better get studying. So then that way, you know, when you look at it, you can remember and you'll know to study.
Some things are long forgotten.
What I like to do is I like to use sticky notes as reminders. So what I do is I usually just write down my reminder and I'll stick it on my cupboard or my mirror or my wall, or even sometimes in the toilet on the wall. Because if you're on the toilet and you're trying to go to the toilet and you have nothing to do, just look to the side and there's your study notes.
Long forgotten. Some things were.
The next one, pack your bag the night before. And I know a lot of teachers say this and a lot of parents say this as well, but it's actually true. You should, and it's a really, really good idea that you pack your bag the night before, because if you are if you sleep in like I do, I like to sleep in, I'll admit, and you haven't packed your bag, and in the morning when you're running out of the door to get to school and you forget something behind, you'll regret it. So my tip for you guys is to pack your bag the night before. That way you have everything you need for the next day, and that way you won't get into trouble.
Long forgotten.
Along with that one is to pack your lunch the night before, because the last thing you want in the morning when you're running late is to make yourself some lunch. I've done this quite a few times, and what I end up doing is just end up picking up a bag of chips, or like a packet of chips, or a muesli bar, something unhealthy that my body doesn't need. So the night before, I recommend packing something nutritious and something good for your body that'll give you all the energy that you need to work at school and to get you some good A's.
Long forgotten. Some things were never.
The next one is I like to colour coordinate all my subjects. So I colour coordinate maths red, English yellow, science blue, light blue, and then history dark blue, sports is green, and then I have music is pink, tech is purple. So I like to colour coordinate all my subjects, because then if I use a binder, then that way I can have the red binder for maths, and then that way you can also write in your diary. So for example, if you have a maths test coming up, you can write it in red, then that way you know it's that subject. Or for yellow, you can write English as well. So that's also a good one.
Forgotten.
Alright, the next one. I know everyone has their own preferences as to whether they want to use a folder or books or sheets of paper, but my preference is to use books. The reason for that is because all your work is in the one book, and then that way if you get a spare sheet of paper, you can just cut it up and stick it in, and everything's in that one spot. Whereas if you're using sheets and you lose them, or your binder, if they rip out of your binder and you lose them and it's a really important note, you'll be stuck and you can't really go back and get it anyway. So that's why I like to use books, because then that way it's in the one spot.
Some things are long forgotten.
While we're on the track of books, I like to also put my books into plastic folders just like this. So this is my maths, and I just have this clip like this, and I prefer the plastic ones because the plastic ones last a lot longer than the cardboard ones. I had cardboard last year, and go by my mistake, they ripped within a week or two. So I like to use these because then that way my books kept neat. That way the book won't rip, it won't get torn to pieces, and if I get given pieces of paper like homework that's due the next day, but it's on a single piece of paper, you can just slip it in right in front of it, and that way you know where it is and you won't lose it in your bag.
Long forgotten.
I also like to have another folder just like the ones that my books stay in, but this one is assigned for all my tests, or for example my notes that I get given, because I know I used to do this all the time last year, and before that, when I got given a note, I'd either stick it in a book and I forget where I put it, or I just shoved it in my bag and it gets all crumpled up and Mum can't write on it and I can't return it back to the teacher because it looks like my dog has eaten it. So what I like to do is I like to keep them all in a folder, then that way they're nice and neat and it slips in easily into my bag.
Forgotten.
Next one is to have a magazine holder or something to hold your books in for your locker. So I have this one, and I got this from Kmart. It's just like this, so I have all my different books in like this, and then I'll have it sitting in like that, and then, hang on, I'll show you. So, alright. So this is what it looks like. It'll just sit in like this, and then that way I have my subject at the top and I can see it, and then just like that. And that's a very, very neat way to keep your locker clean, and it's so easy to find your book, and then that way you're not stressed about how ugly and messy your locker is.
So long forgotten.
Next one is to designate a study spot for you. So for me, it is in my room on my desk. And while I'm studying on my desk, I like to remove my electronics, so my phone, my iPad and my computer, unless I'm using my computer as a resource for homework. But I put them in the kitchen away from me so I can't get distracted, and then that way I know that that is my spot where I study and not in the kitchen. And I also like to do it where it's nice and quiet and there's no TV or no noises, because then that way I get distracted, and that's not good because you need to do your homework.
Things are long forgotten.
The next one, I like to use a to-do list for when I am studying or when I do my homework. So I will, as soon as I get home, I'll have a snack and then I'll go straight to my room and to my desk and I'll write a to-do list, and here it is here. And I'll just write what I have to do, and then once I've done that, I'll tick it off, because then that way I'm productive and I won't procrastinate, because I am the queen of procrastination. So if I have a to-do list, I can just tick it off and that way I get everything done.
Long forgotten. Some things were never said.
The next one, if you have a timetable for all your different subjects. So for me, I have week A and week B. I'll just quickly show you. So this is, I'm just keeping it in this moment until I get to school, because I have to put it on my locker. So this is it. This is my week A, and it goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then this is week B. And then it goes all my different subjects and the times that the classes are on and what class it's in. So what I would like to do is I like to just grab this timetable that I have, grab some blue tack, sticky tape, whatever you have, and just stick it on the side of my locker, on the door of my locker, because in that way when I open the door I can look to see what subject I have next and what class it is in, and in that way I won't be late to class.
Forgotten. Some things were
When you are studying for an English subject or whatever you're studying for, I like to highlight important words or key frames or sentences or quotes or whatever it is that you are looking for. I like to highlight them, so then that way I know, I can see it straight away, and I know that that is important and I need to remember that.
long forgotten. Some things were never.
The next one is my number one tip, and that is to put 100% effort in everything that you do. So even if you're not as good at maths or English, whatever subject you're not good at. So for me, I'm pretty good at English, but I'm not very good at maths. So I like to put 100% in effort in everything that I do, because then even if you don't get a good mark, that doesn't matter, because you know that you've put your heart and soul into it. So that is very, very, very important.
Long forgotten. Some things were never.
So the next one is, as soon as you get homework in your class, you should take your diary to class, and when you get given your homework, the teacher says, okay, you have maths due tomorrow, and it will be due in second period, and you need to have finished 2 pages of your maths book. So if you get given homework, put it straight into your diary, write it down, and remind yourself to get it done for tomorrow, because then that way you can look straight at your diary and you know what homework you have. Because if you don't write it down, you'll forget, and if you forget, you won't do your homework. If you don't do your homework, you'll get in trouble.
Long forgotten. Some things were never.
Next one is to use your study time efficiently. So in other words, don't procrastinate and don't get distracted with what you're doing. If you started studying, you can set yourself a timer for 1.5 hours, an hour, half an hour, as long as you want, and as long as you think you'll finish all your homework or whatever you need to do. But make sure you finish that and don't get distracted, because if you do, you'll waste your time, and that way you won't know what you're doing for your tests.
Things are long forgotten.
The next one is very, very, very important. And I know it's very hard not to, but don't compare yourself to others. You are you, and that's all that matters. I know sometimes you say, I want to be how sporty that girl is, and I wish I was as good singer as that girl. I wish I was good at maths. But everyone is unique in their own different way, and everyone has their own different qualities. So don't compare yourself to others. You are perfect the way you are.
Things are long forgotten.
Next one is also very important, and that is to be organised. Okay. Keep all your stuff as organised as you can. Keep your work neat and tidy. Keep your writing neat and tidy. Do the best things that you can, or try the hardest that you can to keep everything organised. Because when it's organised, you feel good. When you feel good, you know you're doing good.
Things are long forgotten. Something.
The next one is also very important, and it is to revise over all your work that you do. So if you've written 3 or 4 pages in history that day, what I like to do is I like to go home, and with all the work that I've done that day, I like to revise over it. And sometimes when it comes to study time, I like to revise even more, because when you revise, you'll remember, and when it comes to the test, you know exactly what you're doing.
Long forgotten.
The next one is I like to take notes when the teacher is speaking. So if the teacher is talking to you or the class and is teaching you guys something, I like to have my notebook or my workbook out, whatever piece of paper, whatever you want to use, and just write dot points as to what she said. And you don't have to write a whole sentence, just write little words that will remind you of what she's talking about, because then that way you can look back at it and they can be good study notes for you.
Some things are long forgotten. Some things were never.
Last but not least, this one's also very important, and I know sometimes it's really hard if you don't understand what you're doing in class, but if you don't understand something, put your hand up and ask the teacher, because the teacher's there for a reason. She's there or he's there to help you, and you're coming to school to learn. So if you don't understand anything, put your hands straight up in the air and ask them, because that's the teacher's job and the teacher won't bite you. Alright, that concludes today's video. So if you liked it, please give me a big thumbs up, subscribe down below because it really supports my channel, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, comment down below. So I'll see you next time. Bye! Good luck with school, kids, and remember all these tips that I told you. Bye! Oh hey guys, make sure to subscribe so you can stay tuned with my weekly basis video. If you want to see more content, please check out my last video, as it is snazzy. And here are my social media account names, so go check them out. Remember guys, keep smiling.